Well, I'd like to welcome
Oh,
everybody. Oh, hi, Grace.
hi, me too.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the researcher workshop on search tips and tricks. My name's Marie Spear. I'm the engineering and chemistry liaison librarian, and I'll let Grace introduce herself as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Grace Romand. I am the environment, math, physics, statistics, and geography liaison librarian at the Sciences and Technology Library at the University of Manitoba. You're going to hear Marie more today, but I'm here as support and I'm going to chime in. And if you have any technical difficulties or need any assistance, I will be the one helping you out.
Okay, so we're just going to get started with just some housekeeping details on the webinar software. And you should be able to see kind of a control panel on the right-hand side of the screen. And here's a close-up view. So if you have any problems with your speakers, you can select the speaker that the computer should be using in the top part here. And then there's a question box where you can put in some questions for Grace to answer. If you're having some difficulty hearing the sound, please let us know. And we'll also be using this question feature to get some input from the attendees. Oh, okay. Before we get started, Grace is just going to launch a poll to so we can get an idea of your subject background. So if you could do that, Grace.
I have launched the poll, and we'll give you a brief moment here to respond. Okay. Shall we wait for 10 more seconds here?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll now. And I will share the results. So we've got a large representation from health sciences here today, Marie.
Okay.
51% and we had 78% voted, so that's quite a lot of you on the call. 61 of you, so about half of you are health sciences, and then some equal representation from science and technology, humanities, social sciences, and 16% said other.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to just start with a question for you. And if you could answer it in the questions box and indicate some challenges or issues you have when searching for resources. And Grace will give you a few minutes to enter that information, and Grace will be looking at that and kind of summarizing some of the information.
So far we have an attendee saying trouble finding keywords. We've also got knowing where to start and not being familiar with many search engines or sources, so potentially databases might be selection. Oh, lots more here. How to most efficiently search for articles. finding core literature, getting lost, keywords again coming up, narrowing the topic, how to find the most recent publications on a topic, and can't find things that narrow keywords, using and or. Well, there's a few of them for you.
Okay, thanks very much. I think we'll be covering some of these topics today. And we also have a chance at the end to ask some questions, and hopefully we can get some of the answers to some of your questions anyways during this presentation. So I'm just going to turn off my video cam for now, just to free up some bandwidth and hopefully make sure everything works okay. And if you have any problems, again, with the viewing or audio, please put it in the chat and Grace will be monitoring that.
In the questions.
Or I mean in the question, sorry. So we're going to be covering how to plan a search, different search strategies using Boolean operators like and or, using special characters and selecting a database. And we'll look a little bit at refining searches as well. So the steps to conducting a search, general steps, are identifying what you need, defining your topic, then identifying keywords and brainstorming similar words, and then selecting where to search. So the first step, just more information, the first step is to identify what you need. So if you're interested in background information, maybe you're just new to the subject area, you might want to look at some books or reference books or specialty encyclopedias to get some background information on that topic before you start searching for journal articles. If you want some other types of information like maps or images, then you would need a different database than you would need for searching for journal articles, for instance. So we'll kind of highlight a little bit of how you can find out what a database includes. But if you're ever in doubt, please contact your liaison librarian for your subject area, and we'll show you how to do that as well later on. So the next step is to define your topic, and you can write it out as a sentence or research question. So for instance, we have here the question, what is the impact of GMO or genetically modified organism products consumption on health in children? And then you identify the main keywords from that sentence. So you're not using any of the articles like and the, and these keywords are what you're going to be typing into your search box. So I'm going to get Grace to launch another poll where you can enter what keywords you think are the most important ones that you should be searching on for this particular research question.
And I have launched that poll. Oh, and I'm going to note here, if you haven't completed this already, you can choose multiple options in this poll. So yeah, please select all those that apply. Okay. I think I'm going to give it another 10 seconds. Last minute chance. And there you go, Marie. We got 91% said GMO.
Oh, I think I lost you, Grace. You got more, can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I've got 70% said children, 39 said impact, 76 said health, and 57 said product consumption.
Okay. So let's just take a few minutes and go over the results of that poll. First of all, Grace and I would suggest that using the word impact is not necessary, because if there's some information on the maybe they don't use the word impact, maybe they use adverse effect or benefit. You might not use the word impact, and also it just will probably narrow down your search too much, I think, by adding in that term. Grace, do you want to add any information about searching for the word impact and your viewpoint?
Sure. One extra thing I would add about that is the word impact, by searching it, you're suggesting there definitely is an impact of GMOs on children, and therefore you're potentially introducing a bias into your search. So by searching for the word impact, you are automatically assuming that there is an impact and will only look for those, you will only find those articles or sources that say there is.
Okay. Everybody pretty much agreed to search for GMOs, which I think is important, and children, and 76% said to search for the word health. Now, this is another thing, is that it would also depend on which database you select, whether you need to search for the word health or not. If you select a medical database like PubMed, whose whole focus is on health, then you wouldn't really need to put in the word health into your search. And the other topic, product consumption, we think that also probably would narrow down your results too much by putting in product consumption. Just focusing on GMOs, children, and possibly health, I think would get the best results. Do you want to add anything else about that, Grace?
Don't think so. I think you've got it there.
Yeah. So sometimes you have to look at the keywords and decide, are these really important or not? And you can always decide that you need to add in another term later on if you get too many results. But I would say for this particular question, the main ones would be GMO, health, and children, the main concepts. So then once you've had your main keywords, then you're going to look to see what other keywords might you use. You would look for synonyms for each one of those terms, and possibly broader or narrower terms, just in case you have to adjust your search. Maybe you can't find anything on the topic that you picked, so then you have to maybe go a little broader, or maybe you find too many results, and so then you might need a narrower term. So this is just a fairly general example here. We have a broader term for car could be transportation, and a narrower term for car could be sedan or a specific car type. You can use a thesaurus. Another way to find terms is to do a little background reading, find out, and you might find out what terms researchers use for the terminology by doing some of that background reading. So where you want to search, will depend on what you want to find. So if you want to find books, then you would use the U of M library search. If you're looking for journal articles, there are a lot of different options. There's the U of M library search, or Google Scholar is one option for interdisciplinary topics. Well, it'll cover a lot of different subject areas. We also have databases like Scopus, which is an interdisciplinary database that you can also access. And Scopus is a paid database that we have access to from the University of Manitoba libraries. And the benefit of using Scopus, say, over Google Scholar, is that all of the journals that are entered into the Scopus database are vetted by an advisory board. So they should be good quality journals that are being added into the Scopus database. In Google Scholar, there is no quality control filter, so there may be a possibility that you find some journals that are not peer reviewed or are not of high quality. And there's also subject specific databases that you can also select. And we'll cover how to find those in a few minutes. So then after you've got your topic, you could also look at selecting the subject specific database, which allows you to spend less time sorting through your results. So if you are searching for our GMO and health topic in children, for instance, maybe you'd want to use a medical database, which will kind of focus on health articles. So you have less time sorting through your results, and you get more specific search options. And sometimes you might get a few more details about the article, like the abstract and main keywords, before you try to find the full text. I'd just like to point out one difference between the library search and a subject database. The library search box that's on the library's webpage searches for material that the library owns and subscribes to. So if we don't subscribe to a key journal that's in your field, you won't find information on that from that journal. A subject database, on the other hand, contains material that the library does not own. And if you need to access the article but can't, we do have a document delivery service that allows you to get articles that we don't have access to. And you can just order them in for free. So here we're putting our plan together. We've got our topic. What is the impact of GMO product consumption on health in children? And we want journal articles. And you can also select, how many years you might want to search, or at least think about it. And so we're just going to say we're interested in the last 10 years. And I'm interested only in English language articles because I can't read anything else other than English. So our main keywords then are GMOs, children and health, and then we would consider using a database that searches journal articles that cover health. Now, before we go into the database searching, we're going to cover a few of the top search tricks and tips. So we'll cover using quotation marks, Boolean operators, truncation symbols, and wildcards. So most databases use quotation marks to tell the database that you would like to see these words together. So it would be an exact phrase. So we have some examples where we want University of Manitoba to be together as a phrase, hybrid car, and this can focus your results a little bit more if you use quotation marks. So that's fairly common that most databases will have that particular feature. We also, most databases also use Boolean operators that you can use to refine, filter, narrow, or broaden your search. And we have a couple of videos here that you can look at later once we send out the PowerPoint slides that you can look at on your own that kind of highlights that option. So we're just going to go into a little more detail on the different Boolean operators and what they do. So the Boolean operator AND searches for both words. So both words have to be together in that particular article, for instance. So here we have Manitoba and Winnipeg. So we need both those words together. And we're only going to find where those records intersect. So this red circle could stand for Manitoba, and the blue circle could stand for Winnipeg, and where they intersect is what you're going to get with the AND operator. One thing to note is that a lot of databases, the default search is an AND operator. So if you use Google, for instance, and you put two words into your search, they automatically will be ANDed together. So sometimes you don't need to put the word AND in because the default for that particular search engine or database is AND. But if you want to make sure that both words are combined together, you can put the word AND in between. Another thing is that sometimes some databases have require that the AND be in uppercase. So you would, to find out the rules for that particular database, you would have to go to the search help page, or you could just put AND in uppercase, and that should be okay for most databases. The Boolean operator OR requires that is used for synonyms or alternative words that you want to search. So only one word needs to be there. So we have here an example of car or automobile, or I'm looking maybe for the habitat or behavior of a particular animal. And I've put the word or between two different spellings of behavior to make sure I get both spellings as well as another term. So in this case, we would find anything that appears in both of those circles. Another operator that can be used in some databases is not, and this excludes information. So in this example here, we have children, not adult. So it can be used, but it should be used with caution, because you can eliminate material information that that you want. So for instance, if an article is about children and then they are comparing the results to other studies that were done on adults, they would have both children and adults in the search results. By saying not, you would be eliminating that article even though it did deal with children. So this is something that is available, but I would be careful about when you use it. Another search tip is to use a truncation symbol. So a truncation symbol is a replacement character that will replace any number of characters, and it's typically an asterisk, but it is not always an asterisk. So you may want to double check to make sure that the database you're searching actually uses the asterisk as a truncation symbol. So when you put it at the end of a word or word stem, you can see that you get a variety of alternative endings. So sociologue with an asterisk would get sociology, sociological, sociologist, etc. So that's useful for finding alternative spellings, singular and plurals of words, or if you're unsure of the spelling. Another symbol that could be used is a wildcard. And a lot of databases do have this feature where you can put a character in the middle of the word to find variable spellings for a word. And so we have here an example where the question mark might be the wildcard in the database, and it would find the words color with the American and the British spellings. Now, the problem is that the wildcard symbol varies between databases. There seems to be a lot more variability, I find, with the wildcard symbol. And so you need to check the help pages in order to find out what the symbol is. So if you're searching a database regularly, you may want to find out what that wildcard is, and so that you can use it all the time. I find that it's just easier in many cases to use an or. So I just search for both spellings using the or Boolean operator, because it takes some time to try to figure out what the wildcard symbol actually is. Now, there are other search operators like proximity operators, where you can tell the database how many words apart you want the words to appear. So maybe you want them to be close together, but they don't necessarily have to be beside each other. This feature is not available in every database. So again, we'd have to check the help pages of the databases. And if you want more information on this, you can feel free to contact Grace or I after this presentation, and we can go over the feature. There's also how you use the proximity operators can vary quite a bit between databases. So now we can put together our search strategy using Boolean operators and quotation marks and truncation symbols. So this is just an example, and I can show you how we could enter this into a database. So we have GMO or GMOs or genetically modified organism or genetically modified organisms as our synonyms, and we've connected all of those with or. And then we put a parentheses around all those ors, like a math equation. So we want that to be done first. And then we're going to combine that with synonyms for children. Maybe we could take a few minutes here and see if there's any questions on the Boolean operators, for instance. Does that sound okay, Grace?
Sounds great to me.
Okay.
I am here. I'm just monitoring the questions. I've had a couple of questions as you have been presenting. One was about will the webinar be recorded? It is currently being recorded and will be made available after the presentation. As Marie also mentioned, the slides are also going to be available. And I've had another couple of questions about various databases and MSpace and some different things that I have been answering in the background.
Okay, thanks. So we're okay to go on then, Grace?
I would say so. Nothing particularly about Boolean operators that I can see. There was a couple of people had mentioned that they were curious about how those things worked at the beginning of the presentation. So those of you who mentioned ands and ors at the beginning, let us know if that answered your questions or if you still have more, and we can circle back around.
Okay, thanks. So I thought I'd just cover a little bit about how to find a subject database to search. Some of you may know a key database for your subject areas. And so then on the library's website, there's a databases A to Z button that you can go to find that particular database. Also on the databases A to Z list, there is an option to choose a database based on subject. And of course, just before I did this presentation, I noticed that some of the updates that I had done to my database subjects are not appearing for some reason on that list. So you may want to also check out the subject guide for your particular subject area. And I'll show you how to find that as well. And on those guides, there are lists of key databases for the different subjects that have been selected by the liaison librarian for your subject area. So this is just an example of the A to Z list where we have some databases listed for engineering. And there is a short description of what the database database covers. And also some information on the librarian that can help you with that database. And I'll also highlight the subject guide when we get to that point in the presentation. So I thought that we would demonstrate one of the subject databases. Scopus is one interdisciplinary database that is useful for science and technology, medicine, engineering, social sciences, and some humanities, but it's not particularly strong in the humanities area. It includes information from PubMed, which is a medicine database, and some other engineering databases, and it's quite interdisciplinary, covers a lot of journals. In this database, you can use subject searching and also find out who has cited a particular publication. Oh, okay, I've got to jump to my web page. So I'll just switch to my web page.
While you're doing that, Marie, I had a question about saving your search history and combining searches, example 1 and 4, and I was just typing up a response, and I figure I will just say it here. So some databases do allow for that functionality, the 1 and 4, for example, and others don't. PubMed, Medline, Ovid does, Scopus does, but not very well. I would not highly recommend Scopus. Those that do have that functionality, they will quote unquote save your past searches automatically within your one session. If you wanted to go back on searches that you've done previous to that one time of sitting down, you would have to create an account within the database. A lot of them do allow for that. And then you can combine anding and oring different searches. And that usually can be found under the advanced search tab within a database. Back to you, Marie.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're at the University of Manitoba Library's website. If you want to, you can try to follow along by going to umanitoba.ca/libraries, or just search University of Manitoba Libraries in Google to get to this page. So the library search option is this search box here, and don't really have time to cover all the search options, so we're not going to be covering the library search, but you can always contact Grace or I afterwards if you have questions about that. This button, Databases A to Z, is where you would find a list of databases alphabetically, and if you know the name of the database you want, you can just go straight to it. This button, Subject Guides, is where you would find recommended databases for a particular topic. So I'm just going to go here for a minute. And it's taking a while.
While that's
okay.
doing that, I'm just going to answer another question here. For advanced searches, can we type the words and or not following the keywords, or do we have to put the keywords individually by using add a new line feature? That idea of combining searches. So any database, I would say, that allows for combining searches also allows for using Boolean operators within the same line. Once you're doing kind of more systematic searching, it is recommended that you go line by line. But if you're doing a single session search, you don't need to go line by line.
Maybe we can try to remind me, and maybe we can do one little demo of searching different line by line or combining all in one.
Definitely.
Okay, so I'm just going to open up one of the web guides that I have here. And each guide is laid out a little bit differently. I have a link here saying articles, databases. It might not always be in this location. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of variation between the different subject guides, but you can usually find the recommended databases for your topic on the subject guide. So here I have recommended Scopus and a couple of other databases for this particular topic. So I'm just going to go back. And then on those subject guides, we also have the name of the librarian for that subject, and you can contact them and get more information on their topic. Okay, so I'm going to the databases A to Z list in here. And I'm going to just search for the database Scopus. And I'm going to click on that to access the Scopus database. So here I can enter in my search terms, and we can maybe try a couple of different ways. So I'm going to try doing GMO, and I've got a lot. I did practice this, so I guess it remembered. So I've got GMO or GMOs, and then I'm using the phrase search. Now I'm going to just take this out for a minute. So I've added in all my ors that I'm interested in, and then I can select where I want to search. So the default in this database is article title, abstract, and keywords, and that's probably pretty good for my purpose right now, but you can see that there are a lot of different search options if you did want to look for something in particular. Maybe you need to look for the university somebody is working at, and you're interested to find articles from that particular university. Or maybe you know about article title and you want to just go to it, and so you'd select article title.
I'm going to add there too, Marie,
Yeah.
that we had a few questions at the beginning about narrowing your search. So if you were really just trying to get to, 5 really good articles on a topic, and you've done this search with article title, abstract, and keyword, and you found that a number of your results weren't particularly relevant or were kind of about it but not totally, you could restrict to just article titles, so then your topics are really front and center. Could be a way of narrowing.
Yes, it could be, but you also might miss some key articles because it would depend on your keywords too, I suppose. Wouldn't you agree?
I would definitely agree. Not
Yeah.
necessarily something that you should be doing if you're trying to do anything in any way systematic. If you just need a few good articles, that is an option.
Yeah. Okay, so on my first line, I've put in all the keywords, synonyms for genetically modified organisms. And then I'm going to add in another line. And you can see that the and automatically comes in. And then I can add in synonyms for children. Now in this database, it doesn't matter if I have the or in capitals or not. But some other databases do require those to be in capital letters, the ors. And if I wanted, I could add another line here and possibly put in health here if I wanted. I'm just going to leave it for now, and we'll just do a search. So here we are getting some of our results, and the default sort is from newest to oldest. So there's a sort option at the top of the results. If I wanted, I could take a look and see, well, is there any, can I find some good articles using the relevance sort? So I'll change this to relevance. And I found the first article here, genetically modified organisms, do the benefits outweigh the risks, is one of the options. Now I noticed the next result here says genetically modified food along with genetically modified organisms. And that gives me an idea, thinking, oh, I didn't search for genetically modified food. Maybe I should add that into my search, because that actually is kind of what I'm looking for. So when you're doing your search, you should scan the results to give you clues as to other terms that maybe you might also want to look at. And in the Scopus database, you can also, on the left-hand side, select the years that you want to search. So maybe you only want the last 5 years. You can select these boxes here to limit to particular years. I'm just going to unselect. You could also limit by subject area. If you're finding that you're having difficulty getting at the types of articles that you're interested in, you could limit by subject area using some of these, like limit to medicine, for instance. There's also document type option. And if you wanted to start looking maybe just at review papers to begin with, because you're starting out new, this is a new area for you, and you want to get a good overview of this topic, then you could select review to limit just to the review articles that summarize the research. So you can see there's a variety of limiting options and refinements. Also, here's your language one. If you really don't want other languages to show up, then you can limit by English, for instance. And so you'd select everything, and then at the bottom you select limit to limit your search. Now, actually, I had put in this genetically modified food into my search when I was practicing the search. So there were, I have searched for genetically modified food, but I haven't searched for the plural. So I would probably want to go in there and search for the plural form of that. So now I can go through these results, and maybe I might, yesterday when I was looking at this topic, I noticed that there were some results on allergies that kind of applied to this topic. So they were looking at problems with children with allergies and genetically modified foods. So if that's something that I think would be important to narrow my search to, I could put in allergy, say with an asterisk, to just find articles on allergies related to this topic. And I've still got the sort on relevance, but you can change the sort to the newest ones if you want.
Marie?
Yes.
We've got a few questions coming in, and I don't. We've got about 12 minutes left.
Yeah.
One of the things I was wondering if we could highlight. I see that you still have the main library's homepage tab open. For those questions that we haven't gotten to, just a little reminder here that on the library's homepage,
Do you want me to go there?
Yes, please, if you could.
Okay.
There is that Ask Us button at the top. That
Right
is
here.
to our virtual reference and chat reference. There's somebody online from library staff at the University of Manitoba. They're between 9 and 5, I believe, daily. So if we didn't get to your question, trying to do so, please feel free to chat with us, or like I said, there is our email contact information at the beginning of this presentation, and you'll have the slides after with that information. However, if it's a quick question and you need help right away, that's always a good resource for follow-up questions for different databases or more specific questions. Thank you, Marie. Sorry.
Okay, good. I'm just going to go back over here to the Scopus search one more time and just highlight that here is the create account option. If you want to say save your results, or maybe you're really happy with your search strategy and you can create an alert based on the keywords that you've already set up, so that anytime anything new is added to the database, you can you can be notified of new results. So to do that, you would have to create an account. So that's options here. Now, maybe I should just, I'm going to eliminate one of these lines. So I think there was a question like, can I input like that whole line with the, oh, now I erased it. Okay. like the whole line with the parentheses. Oh, I'm trying to, I'll just do a shortcut because it's a lot of typing here. So an example like this, and then I could do and here. So you could do this in one line if you have it written out that way. I find that by putting them in separate lines, it's just a little easier for people. And I find but if you have already kind of, maybe you're doing some kind of systematic search, you've got your search statement all ready to go, and you just want to kind of paste it in, then you could do that. And then you could click search. So,
Marie, I've got a
yes.
question here, and I don't know the answer. So this question comes from Nicole. Hi, Nicole. For articles that are in various languages, is it ever possible to get translations with some databases, or is that not possible?
Well, that's a very tricky question. So you will, in the databases, you will usually find a translated abstract. Like if the, say, article is written in Italian or something, they will usually have, and maybe the abstract's not even written in English, but the database will translate the abstract into English and the title. But translations can be difficult to get. Like some old papers, some classic papers may have been translated, but newer articles, you might have to rely on somebody else to translate it for you, or possibly try using something like Google Translate. I don't know if you have any other suggestions, Grace.
The only thing I would say there is that databases do provide often the abstract in English. So which can sometimes be confusing. In Scopus is a good example, and I believe that PubMed does the same thing. If you see a title that appears in square brackets, and it's in English, but it's in square brackets, that actually means that, and you can read the abstract's in English, but the square brackets indicate that the whole article itself is actually in a different language than the title is appearing. So yeah, so you can see what an article is about, more or less according to its translated abstract, but a translation of the article itself is going to be pretty tricky to track down. I'm going to Kanye, who we have had met before in other sessions. Marie, our chemistry friend, she had a question about finding purification as a part of an article. So she's looking about application of protein research that's included in part of a protein purification, and she's struggling to find the section of an article where they discuss purification. Do you have any chemistry kind of recommendations there, Marie, about how you can find articles that talk about purification?
I think this is something where it would be best just to contact me directly, and then we can send me an email, and maybe we can set up a time to discuss it. As yeah, I think it might take a little bit of thinking on my part, and so this is something that If you have any particular subject-specific type questions, it's always good to contact the liaison librarian for your department, and it'll give us a chance to investigate things in a little more detail.
Definitely. There's another really good question here. If there is an article that we cannot access from our university login, what should be our next move? Is it okay to email the authors and ask for a copy? Thank you so much for the question, Dustin. If you are affiliated with the University of Manitoba and you are struggling to find access to an article, obviously under current situations with campuses being closed, lending and borrowing of print materials. So if there was a book that you needed from another institution, we're probably not going to be able to get that for you right now. We will try to find an electronic copy to purchase, but regular journal articles that we don't have access to because we're not subscribed to them, we are still able to request those from other institutions. So say it was an article in a journal we don't subscribe to, what I would recommend your next move would be to fill out a document delivery request form. And the easiest way I find to get to document delivery requests is from the library's homepage, and then there's a blue button on the U of M library's homepage that says graduate students, and there's a document delivery button on that graduate students page, and that takes you to the form where you can request the article. It usually takes 1 to 3 business days. I haven't heard of that being any different at this time. And that's what you would do. It is okay to email the authors and ask for a copy. You could do that. Obviously, they might not always, well, they might have a copy, but they might not still be at the same contact information that is available on the publication, or depending on how old the article is, they might not be working in the field anymore, or whatever it might be. So you can still definitely put in a document delivery request. Lots of thanks are coming in. Marie, being very appreciative.
Yes, this is I just say that this is a general overview, and your librarian, Grace, and I, or any of the librarians at the University of Manitoba Libraries are here to help you with your search. So please reach out to us if you still have additional questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got 1 more minute here, so I'm going to try to answer a couple more questions. I had a question about predatory publishers. I would agree that with the question from Richard saying that there are predatory publishers in Google Scholar, I would say yes, that is true, but not in Scopus. And I would say yes, that is true too. Scopus does vet the journals that go or that are indexed by them. So does Web of Science, so do many of the subject-specific databases. Another great place to search if you're worried about predatory publishing but like the open access realm is the Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ. That's a place where you can find some very reputable open access content. Anything to add there, Marie?
No, I think that sounds good.
Okay, well, thanks so much for attending, everybody. If we didn't get a chance to answer your question, please follow up with us, send us an email, contact any of the library staff through LibChat on the homepage, and have a great rest of your day.